Hey everyone, welcome to this new edition of IEN Talks. Today we will have Fernando Rausell. Fernando works on the business development ecosystem at Libelium. He's very focused on the smart cities. He's going to extend this presentation. He's going to introduce himself in a minute. So I just want to welcome everyone again. Thanks for being here on this new IEN Talk. If you guys don't know Libelium is an amazing company working with hardware for the IoT. They have amazing solutions for smart agriculture, smart cities, smart parking, smart water. So hopefully we will learn a bit more about smart parkings today with Fernando. So as usual, we will have a little Q&A session once Fernando finishes with his presentation. And that's all I have. So let's bring Fernando in. Hey, Fernando, how are you doing?
Hi, Daniel. How are you? And
if you wanna introduce yourself further with the details, go ahead, man.
Sure thing. Well, thank you very much again, Daniel, for giving us the opportunity to have this talk with you. And I would like also to thank you all guys for being here today. I hope you're all safe and healthy on these tough days that we had to live these days. And well, before moving forward and focus on the subject that we're going to speak about today, which is the smart parking solution that we have at Libelium, let me just introduce myself and also some details about the company itself and some of the new things that you have to take into account in terms of the new business model or direction that is going to take Libelium in the next few years. And then actually we've been taken since a couple of years ago. Okay, so my name is Fernando Rausell, and I'm part of the business development and ecosystem department at Libelium, and my role is basically to try to look for or increase the number of partners that we have in the ecosystem. For us, it's very important as these partners complement the different parts of the value chains that we cannot provide in an IoT project. So that's very important for us. And also, I'm particularly focused on smart city projects. Okay, with all that entails, air quality monitoring projects, smart parking, monitoring pedestrian movements around the city, etc. So if we go with the first slide, I just wanted, as I said, to give some brief details about the company. For those of you who don't know us, we are a hardware company based in Spain, a 14-year-old company with presence and deployments of this hardware in more than 120 countries around the world. And we are actually a reference in the IoT sector. But we are a reference specifically in this first part of the value chains that I mentioned. We are the first part, which is the hardware. But the thing is that we are starting to move towards another direction. We are starting to offering other services, such as project management, installation, and specifically a lot of consultancy to customers. So that's why I was mentioning that, we are wireless sensor network providers till, over these 14 years, but we are starting to change this orientation. And why is that? Basically, because we know and we see that we have enough knowledge to provide that consultancy and to go hand to hand with the customer and provide all the parts of the value chains alongside also the rest of our partners. As I mentioned, are very important for us. Not just our distributors around the world, but also these cloud partners, system integrators, solution providers, etc. So one of the key factors or one of the key features that you must take into account about our hardware platform, as we define it, would be for sure the interoperability. Okay, so for those of you that already know us, you know that Libellium's hardware is really modular, interoperable, and easy integrable with any cloud platform in the market. So this is basically one of our main strengths in all the verticals that we work nowadays. It doesn't matter if it is air quality or agriculture or water. We say that we can connect any sensor or provide any sensor to our customers. We have nowadays nearly 100 sensors already integrated in our platform, but we can integrate more if that is needed in a specific customized project. We give the possibility to customers to use any of the connectivity options that you see there, the main ones such as LoRaWAN or Sigfox or Narrowband. But we also give the possibility to do this customized or bespoke projects with bespoke devices in which we were using all the connectivity that could be needed for that project. And at the same time, as I said before, we also give the possibility to integrate the hardware or to send the information from the hardware to any cloud platform. As Libellium does not have a cloud platform from us, specifically done by us for every of the verticals that we provide, what we do is we complement this with our partners in order to provide the end solution to the end customer. And also we give this possibility that any customers that normally our system integrators can integrate really easily the hardware with any cloud platform that you could imagine. Okay. And just to emphasize what I've mentioned about the value chain of an IoT project, I just wanted to show you this so you can see what Libellium provides today, which is this first part, this first pack, as you can see, which is the hardware sending the information from many different sensors to the gateway or finally to the final cloud or to the final server with, depending on the communication protocol you choose. We also provide the SDK APIs, more than 600 examples of coding for you to program the node to send the information wherever you wish. And we always, enhance that or emphasize about the possibility to increase our ecosystem with different companies from any of the parts that you can see here. We of course look for this first part, this pack that you see here, which is cloud partners, data analytics partners, in order to show a dashboard and analyze the data that our sensors capture. But we also look for other hardware partners that could give us, all the sensors that could be interesting to integrate in our catalog. So now we already know who we are, what we do, and which is the main direction that Libellium is starting to take with this new orientation or new services that we provide. I would like to jump directly to the smart parking solution. And as Daniel has said, we have many different verticals, as we said, air quality, parking, noise monitoring, water quality monitoring. And we've chosen to expose today to present the smart parking solution because it's actually one of the most demanded nowadays. Probably not nowadays because of the coronavirus, and because, as you would imagine, this kind of solution is very oriented to public administration. But now we will see also that this kind of solution has a very good applicability to private projects. Okay, so we want to present this because actually this is the third generation of this product. All of our verticals are now in the third or even fourth generation of the product, and this is the third. And the reason to change or to improve the previous generation was basically because we saw that the previous sensor node that actually has a very similar appearance to this one was not accurate enough. And the reason it was not accurate enough was basically because they were using just a magnetic sensor on it in order to detect if the parking spot was occupied or not. And we saw over the experience and conversations with our customers in real deployments, in real cities deployments, we saw that it was really affected by many circumstances around the city. So it was affected by railways. It was affected by how the cars were parked above the sensor. If there were two cars very close to the sensor, it could have like false positive and negatives. And it was basically something about the technology, and that's why we wanted to improve it, and that's why we integrated this new technology to detect the car above or not, and this is the combination of radar technology that actually is the one that works as the lead technology, and then we have also the backup with a magnetic sensor. So now we have, a double sensor detection. But the important thing is to take into account that the radar is now doing this job. Okay. So now we feel very confident about this sensor. We can give a 99% accuracy, and we are not afraid of saying that. We've done many tests. This has been already deployed in many places, and we have reports and analysis, not just from analysts or from ourselves, but also from customers and mainly system integrators that have tested different providers and had finally decided to stay with us. Because of the accuracy, basically, and the good result that it had in real deployments. Some other facts that you have to take into account about this sensor node is that the case is obviously protected and specifically designed for real deployments in cities with IP68 protection. It is CE and FCC certified, and another major change in comparison with the previous one was that we have decided to go just with LoRaWAN connectivity instead of maintaining this Sigfox and LoRaWAN double radio connectivity. So now the node is obviously cheaper because we don't have both connectivity at the same time, the same node, and at the same time it is just a question of demand. We saw that we were having a big demand on LoRaWAN and not so much with Sigfox, and that's the main decision, okay, but the main reason. But as many of the sensors, all the sensor nodes that we have at Libelium, we also give the possibility with as customized projects to even adapt again the sensor node to provide Sigfox sensor nodes, and maybe in the near future we will finally make a step and choose a narrowband IoT. Once we see that the technology or the connectivity is mature enough, because today we don't seem to be very comfortable with this kind of connectivity. So then I just wanted to show you this table that, of course, you can have a look to this afterwards and also on our website in order to see, the main reasons. This is just a summary of why we chose to use radar instead of and keep using magnetic. Okay, so this is some of the reasons that that make us make that decision. Okay, and going with radar. And basically, as I said, because we saw it was more reliable, more robust, and at the end of the day, it's more accurate. Other things to take into account about these sensors, because you've probably seen many different sensors from many different providers, many different ways of installing a sensor in the surface. And as you can see, we use different screws. There actually are anti-vandalic that actually use a specific key to screw them on the floor. But then we have all the options that we provide to customers. We would always recommend to go with this kind of installation because, as you obviously see, this is much harder. This implies to make a civil work. This is more expensive, and that at the end of the day, it doesn't make no sense. We always prefer to use with the on-surface way of installation. This is normally we've normally been seeing some demand on this kind of installation modes in some places, such as snowy places in which you have snow, you have trucks that are going to take the snow out, and customers are afraid of what it could happen with these sensors when the truck comes and take the snow out. So they can put that underground, but at the same time, it is important to take into account that any sensor put underground with a layer of ice or snow above it is going to have troubles. You're going to have problems to send the frames, okay, of the status of the parking spot. So probably this application or this kind of sensors are not very oriented to this snowy deployments. Okay, so keep that in mind. And finally, I just wanted to highlight also the architecture that this sensor has. We have the sensor that is going to transmit the information about the state of the parking spot through LoRaWAN to the base station. The base station, we have two possibilities. It can be a public LoRaWAN base station or a public network, which is actually year by year more and more popular, between not just in Spain or Europe, but we've seen a lot of improvements in a lot of new countries that are now relying a lot on this public LoRaWAN networks, and not just on your private deployments with your own gateways. Okay. So, and then we have to take into account also as well the LoRaWAN network server. So we're talking about the LoRiot, Actility, the Things network, etc. They're going to manage, and they're going to manage the data captured by or sent by the node. And finally, we will have the last part, which would be the cloud. And this is where our partners, start working as they're going to receive the information from the sensors, and are going to paint all that data in the dashboard and give all the analytics and all the value that you would like to give to the end customer. Okay. And so once we have described the what is the sensor itself and the features and characteristics, I would like also to of course focus on the benefits of the smart parking solution itself, and the key aspects to take into account. And for that, I think it is important, or it will be interesting to divide this into perspectives. Probably one perspective would be public administration or public administration deployments. So we're talking about smart cities. And then we would be the private perspective that I mentioned before, that is also interesting to take into account. So if we think about, if we focus in the smart cities field, we always, and we, everybody thinks about the different parking spots that can be monitored around the city. So we're talking about loading and unloading parking spots, disabled parking spots, taxis, special permits, etc. And if we think about smart cities, we have also two perspectives. We have the municipalities' perspective, that they see these applications as a way of having a more control and optimize the capacity of these parking spots around the city. They're going to have a better control of their assets, which are actually these parking spots, and they're going to detect if there is any misuse, if they have to, and if they need to add more parking spots or reduce them, and basically to have more information and better information to make decisions. They have also, unfortunately for us citizens, the tax collection interest, and for sure, they can use the kind of devices to apply fines to citizens of this. Take into account this misuse that they could use, or this bad use of a specific parking spots. Okay, and on the other hand, they can also give the possibility, or they can sell to citizens and show the citizens that they're doing, or they're making good decisions with the budget that they have in terms of improving the environment of the city has, in terms of air quality, noise. And of course, they give the possibility to citizens to spend less time looking for a parking spot around the city, which is very interesting for all of you, I suppose. And if we think about the citizens' perspective, it is very easy to see the benefits. You're going to spend less time looking for a parking spot. You're going to be less angry. You're going to spend less fuel, and you're going to be able to save more money. And of course, you're going to live in a better environment city, with better air quality, less noise, less congestion, etc. So as you can see, this kind of application, the smart parking one, and I would say, for example, the air quality monitoring application, sometimes it's difficult to see the return of investment. Sometimes it's difficult to see, that return of all that effort. But because it's not as simple as, I would say, other applications that at Libellium we have, such as fish farmings. The less fish that dies because of this control of the water parameters in these fish farms, the less money that you lose. But in this case, this is more a social. This is a social perspective and a social return of investment with citizens and with the environment, etc. And finally, on the private perspective that I mentioned before, I think it's interesting also to see some of the projects that we can be involved in, and some of the latest one that I've been involved in are actually very interesting, and I think it's interesting to take into account would be, for example, to detect when loading docks on big warehouses are full or occupied. Imagine an Amazon Web Services warehouse, and people from the warehouse want to be sure and to control the occupancy of these massive trucks that are going to go to these docks to load and unload all the goods that are going to deliver around the city. And they wanted to have a deeper knowledge on the efficiency of these trucks and all this process. But at the same time, which is something that surprised me, was also in terms of security. They wanted to see they wanted to have a better control and to warn their employees about the existence or not of these cabins when they were parked on the dock. Because it seems that some employees, some workers were using these little cars to load the cabins, and sometimes they thought the cabin was there and the truck was not there, and they seemed to fall. So it was a very interesting perspective, in terms of security and risk prevention too. And just to give you another example, in terms of ports, we have a really nice deployment in the port of Barcelona, in which we were detecting the occupancy of these buses that were going to pick up tourists from cruises to deliver them to the city center. And this company, this transport company, wanted to have a better knowledge, a better idea, and more information about the use of these parking spots, and in order to see if the buses are rated on time, if they left on time, which was the use of that. And it was also interesting because we, in this case, we didn't deploy any LoRaWAN network, and we took advantage of the existing the Things network that there was available in the area. So it was a really interesting project. And one we've seen all these benefits and ways of applications in a really fast way, of course. I wanted just to highlight some of the points that I think everybody needs to take into account, specifically when facing a smart parking deployment. It seems really obvious, but start with a POC, okay? Specifically in this big smart city deployments that we are talking about. And I'm speaking about thousands of smart parking sensors deployed. There's still a lot of lack of knowledge in public administration. At least this is the feeling that we have. And not just in the public administration, but also in some system integrators that offers the final solution to the end customer, which is the public administration, the city council. So we always recommend to start with a POC, get used to the technology, specifically see what you want, be sure about the coverage that you need to have to feed the sensors so they can have coverage to send the information. So it is very important that all of the parts involved are aware of this, and it is important to see that fortunately we're starting to see that in some city tenders, smart city tenders, we're starting to see that they also start with a small part of the budget with some POCs, even to compare different providers, which is also very interesting. Do not focus just in price. Of course, it's important, but accuracy is the key to success and is the key to scale the project, which is basically what we all want. So that's why I say that it's very important to get informed and rely on robust providers. And I wanted just to emphasize this because over these years of the Libelium's experience with public administration, in this case, we've seen that price was the main thing to take into account, and that's why a lot of smart city projects have been rubbish, basically. They haven't scaled, they haven't been accurate enough. Some of them have been abandoned, and it's important then to take this into account, to bear that in mind, because if the project if the project on the sensors are accurate and everything is accurate and give good results, the end customer is going to be confident, is going to believe in this kind of deployments, and then are going to scale it. If we continue with this just price fixed, we're going to keep having some bad results, and then people is not going to trust this and this deployments of sensors, and we are not probably going to see this massive deployments of sensors that we thought we were going to have in 2020. So very important to take into account. If we're talking about the smart parking deployment that I was mentioning with LoRaWAN deployment, it is very important to not forget about the LoRaWAN network. As I said, I've seen many projects in which they were spending a lot of time in looking for the right hardware provider for the sensors, and fighting against the providers with in terms of price, and they didn't thought about the LoRaWAN network deployed. And then we faced some projects in which the sensors were deployed, they were working properly, but there were not enough coverage in the area, in the city, basically. So the city council thought that the sensors were rubbish because they didn't send any frames, they were not working, and the only thing is that they didn't have enough coverage. And then in this particular case, that actually we are going to see this in some pictures in the next slides. It was in the city of Huesca in Spain. We've seen that this has been modified, and they have now released another contract in order to increase the number of gateways and then have enough coverage for the sensors. So, and also installation, as you see there, and it's also a key factor to take into account. It seems very obvious, and it seems very easy, and it is, but it is important to take that in mind. And so, as you can see, there are many parties involved in the value chains, many things that can go wrong. So many things that must be well prepared. And so I just wanted to highlight that, think about all the parties, think about the value chains that I mentioned, and things probably would go well. Okay. And just to finish, I wanted just to show you some pictures of real deployments, so you can see some real deployments. This was, for example, a deployment in Montpellier, in France, and you can see here some of the sensors already deployed. Actually, this was the previous sensor that we had, the one that used only magnetic technology, and so this was like 3 years ago, probably. Then we have another project in which this is quite recent. This was done with EveryNet in Italy, and it was pretty interesting because it was installed in electric vehicles, parking spots, in order to have a better control. You have the app; the employees have an app to make reservations and have a better control of the parking spot that were available in order to charge the cars. This is the one that I mentioned before in Huesca, really close to a city in Spain, and the deployment is been really cool. It actually is a really cool application because the sensors are deployed in disabled parking spots, and actually disabled citizens have the chance to log in and make reservations, see if the parking spots are free or not, and once they park there. They can even send, if somebody that is not logged in, it is not from the city, it is not logged in this disabled application, they will be sent like an alert to the police in order to go there and put a fine on this guy that is not doing the right thing. And you can see there some of the sensors deployed. And another one that I wanted to share with you was actually an indoor, which is actually something interesting, something different. This was done at the end of last year, and in a very important hotel in Madrid. And as you can see, they wanted to renew the parking area, and they didn't want to make any civil work, and they wanted to have a better control of the parking spots and assign the parking spots to visitors, employees, disabled parking spots, etc., so they can have a better control. And actually, they're very happy. We install. It was a 2-floor deployment with 2 gateways, one on each floor, and actually it's running very well. And well, that was all, guys. this has been a fast introduction of on what we do at Libelium and one of the verticals that we provide, which is the smart parking one. But then we have some questions and answers now that you can ask. But afterwards, please do not hesitate to contact me on that email address in case you have any questions that we can answer today, or if I'm not able to respond in a proper way and we need to go deeper on that. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fernando. That was actually very, very interesting. So we do have some questions. We have a lot of questions related to IORA.
Okay.
I gotta say, guys, that Fernando and I were talking about IORA yesterday and also a little bit today. And Libelium was not aware about IORA. So I sort of explained to Fernando what IORA is about, what IORA aims for. And he was very excited about IORA. So I understand that you guys are now studying IORA probably, or you will study IORA on your research and development department, right, Fernando?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I wasn't aware of IORA. I'm sorry, guys, about that. I'm just from business development. I'm not as technical as I should be. And but it was very interesting, and I want to learn more about that. And that's what I asked Daniel to have a small chat before. And but I want to transmit that to my colleagues and have a better knowledge, and then keep in touch with Daniel and see what we can do together.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Hopefully, we will be able to continue our relationship and to have some sort of presentation with you guys. That would be amazing if we can tell you guys about what IORA can offer. So let's take some questions that are not related to IORA. Let's start with this one from Gabriela Jara. She's asking about any cities already using smart parking. Well, you already covered this, but the second part of the question aims to find out how hard could be to implement these solutions on cities. You know that you have to comply with the regulations, and there are a lot of things. Also, you need to have a proper infrastructure, because sometimes you have an amazing grid of sensors, but then, as you said, you don't have the right coverage. You don't have LoRa or whatever. If you want to comment a little on this.
Yeah. It's a very good question, in fact, and this is one of the reasons actually why Libelium has tried or is starting to move towards another direction, as I said, and starting to provide other services such as installation, for example, or project management. We're starting to do that in Spain as a test bed, and then we will start doing that probably in the near future in other countries. We will see how it evolves, but based on that. Some bad experiences that we've had as hardware providers, and seeing that some system integrators and installation companies that we contact and partner with in order to go to these smart parking deployments, and based on that bad experience on how the sensors were deployed, if there were not enough LoRaWAN coverage, and some of the deployments, some of the problems that we saw that they were facing, specifically this lack of knowledge on IoT already. This is one of the reasons that we wanted to change and provide these other services. So I would say that things are starting to change, and we're starting to see better and more robust and more precise smart city tenders. With all the details in the document itself, so it makes more sense and everything is more accurate. But we're still having a lot of issues in some deployments. So yeah, tough one.
Okay, so let's take another one. Okay, this one is from GDM, and it's asking, how do you see the integration of these smart parking sensors with some mean of payment so that the complete parking experience is solved in an automated fashion? As the car paid with a wallet. Yeah, I saw that your presentation covered the online payment on parking.
Yeah.
So probably, I think that this could be also something that IORA could do, probably. So I don't know what you think about this one.
Yeah. I think actually it's a very interesting one, because I'm not aware of a project, because as you would imagine, as hardware providers, sometimes we don't have that traceability of what the final customer does with our hardware, but sometimes we do. That's why we share that with you. And I haven't seen a project yet on making this online, automated payments using this kind of sensors that we have in our portfolio, to be honest. And actually, we would have to make a deeper study about that, because you have to have the sensors basically almost awaken all the time, and that consumes a lot of battery. And these sensors are designed to last for a lot of years, and they have to stay in a sleepy mode for most of the time, and they wake up and send information. So I'm not sure if that will be enough from the perspective that we have now and from the design that we have now on the sensors. But it is something that we thought about, and we will probably have to make a deeper study and see if that is enough with the sensors that we have nowadays.
Okay. So, well, we have another one from Hover Stavo, and he's asking, can you read the questions, Fernando, at the bottom? Okay.
Yeah.
So in a context in which the servers are really far away, for example, the servers are in Brazil and the sensors in Argentina, will we have real delay problems for applications where time is important?
That's a good question. Yes. Probably there's something that would affect. I'm not sure how much delay. I'll have to have a deeper study and probably have a chat with my colleagues and see how it's affecting that to specifically from the guys, from my colleagues. Sales area managers are focused in different geographical areas, so I'm more focused in Spain nowadays, and see how it would affect. But I assume that there would be probably some delay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that to have sensors in one country and the servers in other countries is a good idea, probably. But
probably not.
Okay, so let's take another one. We will have to finish the IEN talk today at 40 minutes, guy, because Fernando has some other commitments. So Mammoth is asking if you guys are working with any of the big car park companies in Europe, such as Embark, Indigo, Saba, etc.
Yeah, that's a good question too, and this is what we are looking for actually. As today we are just providing the first part of the value chains that I mentioned, which is just the sensor. We are trying to partner with all these kind of companies and also smaller ones that are in the smart parking or in the parking management ecosystem, so that they can integrate the sensor, as I mentioned, because it's quite easy and integrable with their in their portfolio solutions, and then provide that to the end customers. So actually, they are one of our main targets. So if some of you work at this company, do not hesitate to contact me. Okay.
Okay. We have here one from Alejandro Linares, and he's asking, how long does the smart parking device work before it requires to recharge a new battery? You just mentioned that it is supposed to work for a long time, but I don't know if you have information on this. Probably this is also technical.
This is also a common question. Actually, our sensors, if these devices are programmed beforehand, before the installation, and the network is already well connected, and there's enough coverage, probably the sensors won't have any issues on lasting, in between 6 and 10 years. If the sensors, because actually we have big battery inside, in this new device that really released. But we've seen some projects in which it's this lack of coverage that I mentioned made the devices to keep sending frames, to get this response, and due to that, the sensors ran out of battery. So we haven't thought about integrating any solar panel or changing the architecture of the device, because we've seen that if the sensor is properly programmed, there won't be any issues. And actually, we have even a sleep mode for a night mode. So in case you see that this fluency, of course, during the night is not too big, you can even put some of them to sleep, directly during the night, and then start working with the normal cycle the day after.
Okay, let's do one more and then we will wrap it up. Here Ben Royce is asking, disabled parking spot reservation, enforcement on non-disabled taking the spot, a great idea, a great sales point. Are there
Mhm.
other new possibilities your sensors make that you're allowed to talk about?
As I mentioned, during the presentation, apart from the smart cities perspective, in the city, in which we can see this disabled parking spot and loading and unloading parking spot, is also interesting because and cities. City councils are interested because they can actually fine these people that do this bad use and stay in more time that allowed in this specific loading and unloading parking spot for some time. I think it's also interesting to go to the private perspective that I mentioned. And some of the good deployments or some good uses that apart from the ones that I mentioned, is probably building offices. Is actually it's actually interesting. We have some projects in which these big companies, big system integrators, wanted to have a better control of their parking spots because they saw that their employees were suffering hell in looking for a parking spot were going to work, and that's why they didn't want to make a big a big investment. They didn't want to go to any civil work and run any cables, and they wanted to have something fast and they could control the occupancy. And with this, they wanted to implement an application. And with this, they could see, the occupancy basically nearly in real time, make reservations, assign the parking spot for specific employees that have an important meeting or a specific guest or a specific visitor that you want to have a parking spot available when you arrive. So actually, there are many possibilities, and to be honest, we are still seeing new ones day by day. Unfortunately, due to coronavirus, the smart cities projects are now, some of them, on hold. But we will see that probably, fortunately, this will change in the near future, hopefully.
Okay, Fernando, I promise you that we will. It would take 40 minutes, and 40 minutes
It's
past.
been great shot.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, guys, we have some more questions, but this talk is going to be available right now on YouTube, and Fernando has his contact info on the last slide. So,
Yes,
if you
please.
have any further doubts or questions, you can reach him on his email or social media. So,
Sure
thanks a
thing.
lot, Fernando, for taking the time to do this. I really hope that we can keep in touch and probably present to you guys at Libellium what IOTA can offer. I think you will be very happy to learn about this new technology. So again, thanks Fernando, thanks everyone for joining in as usual, and see you guys in the next IEN Talk.
Thank you
Bye.
very much, guys. Bye bye.